Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Shadowed City Podcast. I am your host, Larry, and this is Dark City Cinema 7. We've already had 6, but this is our 7th one, and we have a certain topic we're going to talk about with this. As you know, we talk about movies, shows, actors, actresses, storylines. We're going to talk about The Walking Dead. Excuse me. And my guest here, once he gets here, we will be discussing it together. We're both fans of the TWD universe, and we made 2 lists. One for villains from the main TWD show, and our top 10 members of the group before they reached Alexandria. I think I have 2 weird lists, and and whoever else is a TWD fan, you'll probably look at me strange, but my lists, I guess this is how I see my top 10. I don't know what y'all's top 10 is, but hey, everybody has difference of opinions. I have a feeling I'm going to get some weird looks, be like, why is he there? Why is she there? You know what I'm saying? But this is my list. Probably my villains list is probably the most weirdest. Still waiting on him, wherever he may be. Hello.
Hey, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can anybody see me? I don't know if my camera's working, but
Well,
if not,
when people join in, that's usually
yeah.
the thing. Like, you remember, that's kind of like usually the thing when people watch, and
Uh,
probably after. I feel like people can see our cameras. The only people that
hopefully.
usually master turning off their camera whenever they join my live is the mighty.
Okay, right. Okay.
But
All
bro,
right. Yeah.
when was
Hey, what's
we're
going on,
talking
man?
about we're talking about the original TWD show. When did you first get into it?
I want to say I started watching it when it first aired, like it was still new. I wasn't aware of the comic books. I mean, I guess I had heard that there were comic books, but I hadn't read them. So like I didn't have any spoilers or anything. So I was like I went into it fresh. I was like, what's this? I said, the way it started off where you know start off in normal civilization. Rick and Shane just go to a day at work, the sheriff office or something, they have to go respond to an incident and click, clack, pow, pow. And then Rick winds up in the, the trip to the hospital and then wakes up in the zombie apocalypse. And it's like, oh, we're off to a start here, so I said, okay, but I think I was a fan of it from day one, because it was, I like a good survival horror. The way that they told a story, and then like they had like several compelling characters and villains that make you, wonder, oh, the gang might be in trouble now. It was always something. I never really got bored with it. So I watched it from beginning to end. So yeah, and it ran for what, like almost 10 seasons maybe, or I don't know.
The
So,
original show ran in total for
mhm.
11 seasons.
11 seasons. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Good times. Good times.
Oh yeah, it was good to see how certain characters developed, and like Rick finding his son and
Hmm.
his wife, and he finds out that his wife is with Shane's kid. But even after the kid's born, no matter what,
Hmm.
Shane may be the
Hmm.
bio father, but Rick will always be her dad. That's just the
Yeah.
fact.
True. Oh yeah, Judith. Yeah.
Exactly.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
Um. Yeah. So I have my list isn't great, right? But it's something.
Bro, I'm not gonna lie to
So
you. You're probably gonna think my lists are weird as fuck, bro. We got you got your villains list, right?
yeah. Yeah.
You got your group list
Yeah.
before they reached Alexandria.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. So So if you want to go through those, let's make something like this. Before we get officially into our top tens, do you want to start with the villains or the group first?
The group.
Okay,
The group.
let's
Yeah.
let's each mention our honorable mentions that did not make our top 10. You go first.
Okay. Honorable mentions. How many do I get? I got like a couple of them.
All right, five if you'd like. Maybe five would be a good honorable mentions.
All right. I'll say Dale because Dale was like
Wow.
the moral what you call it? The moral voice of reason, right? And then some
Yeah,
people, I guess some people were annoyed by it, but really, like he had a point when it came to that Randall guy that when they were at the farm or whatever. Now it turns out Randall was a complete scumbag, right? And Shane's instincts
yeah.
might have been right, but Dale did have a point that once you start going down a certain path, you lose something. You lose what made you you, and you start becoming like the feral survivalists. That lost their morality. So he was important, but the way he died, I didn't like it. Uh, but I think
He's not in
he
your top
was
10.
he's not in my top 10,
Oh
but
my
he's
gosh.
honorable
Okay.
mention. Hmm.
Okay. I like
Okay.
Dale. Good character. Good character.
And then my other honorable mention, I think, is T Dog. Remember T
Oh,
Dog?
damn! He's in my top 10 somewhere.
He
I'm not
is.
going to tell you where I
Yeah.
put him.
Oh, that's
Damn!
fine. No, I mean he probably. I figured. I just like probably if I watch it again, like if I watch the show again, I'll probably reorganize this list. This is
Yeah.
just going based off my memory. Um, but yeah, early on he was important. But uh, anywho, like so. I'm kind of all over the place here, but so anyway, like, how do you? Okay, and then your honorable mentions.
So, um,
Mm,
so Abraham's group that joined up with the group, then none of
yeah.
them made my top 10. I
Okay.
love them. I loved them. I
Mm,
loved especially how Eugene changed later, but at the moment he was kind of being that
yeah.
cowardice with that. But then he
Yeah.
did make up for things. Abraham, that strong military type, was trying to
Mm,
get Eugene somewhere. It's
mm.
not nothing that I just, when I was going for my top 10, I'm like, I already have an issue because I feel like this top 10 is going to be the most weirdest top 10 I've ever made, but I think some
Hey,
people
it's okay.
understand.
It's okay.
I love
Yeah.
Rosita's character, but Rosita did
Hmm.
not make my top 10 either. And
Yeah. Because we're talking about
Carol did not make
before
my top 10 either.
You said Carol. Oh, okay. So
She did not make my top 10.
see, and then part of the reason why she is in my top 10 is because I forgot. Like at some point, I can't remember when that was when she started sniping people or whatever. I can't remember what
Yeah.
episode that was. I can't remember
You're
if that was
talking about season
before.
5 with the
Okay.
cannibals. Remember the
So
cannibals, right? That was to get them away from Terminus. That's how they got away in the first place. And then they
that's
met up with
right.
the cannibals at the church with Gabriel. By the way, Gabriel's not in my top 10 either.
I forgot him. I forgot him.
Also,
I forgot
Noah,
about
the
him.
kid that got killed in the store, is not in my top 10 either.
Noah.
Remember Noah, the one
Noah.
that got the worst death when he got stuck in the store?
Everybody eats Chris. I mean, no, he was the no, he was the guy that they rescued from the hospital, right?
Yes,
Beth
yes.
got killed trying to
Also,
save him.
Beth
Okay,
is not in my top 10 either.
nah, mine neither. Not that she wasn't. I mean, it's just
Exactly.
it's a lot of great characters, but if you only have 10
Exactly.
slots, it's kind of tough, Um,
I would have put
no,
Morgan,
yeah,
but he was never
yeah,
actually a part of the group. He was never
yeah.
actually a part of the groups until later.
Until
So
after they got to Alexandria, yeah, that's true.
exactly, because he was more like a
Um,
mutual person to himself. After his son Dwayne died, he went crazy. And then he
clear,
found a mentor, and then he finally made it to the kingdom
yeah.
in Alexandria.
Yeah, yeah. He actually got there right when I guess whoever the leader of Alexandria was, that lady that was, I guess, kind of de facto mayor. Her
Exactly,
husband,
exactly.
yeah, that crazy guy like stabbed her husband or something like that. And then Rick had to shoot the guy that did the stabbing, and then Morgan just happened to walk up right there. He was like, Rick.
Exactly. Morgan's a badass. When we do our
Yeah,
top 10 list again and we redo this, it'll
yeah,
definitely be in my top 10 somewhere when we're actually talking about a certain subject for that.
yeah.
But those are all my honorable mentions. Do you have any?
Mhm. Yeah, Dale and T Dog were my honorable mentions. I
Okay.
probably it's some people I probably forgot that probably could have made my top 10 list, but I was pressed for time. But anywho, how do you want to
So
go
you
through?
say so we'll start from
Mm,
10 to our number
mm,
one, but we'll take
mm,
turns. So you say your 10, then I'll say my 10, and we'll like discuss the
mm,
character. Like you talk about your 10, and then I'll talk about my
mm.
10, then you'll do your not, you know what I'm saying? We'll take turns. So you go first.
Okay, I might have to throw Andrea somewhere in there with my honorable mentions. I forgot her.
Yeah, she was
I
a
forgot.
badass
Yeah,
character. She had a good
yeah.
character. I agree.
Mm, okay. So I'll have to say my number 10 would have been Tyrese, like Sasha's brother, I think.
I know who you're
Um,
talking. Oh, Sasha's in my honorable mentions. She's in my honorable mentions.
yeah, it's funny I mentioned her.
Tyrese is in my list, but you're going to be
Yeah,
shocked where. You're probably going to be shocked where I have Tyrese, but talk about Tyrese. Let's hear it.
yeah. Well, I feel like Sasha, she became more prominent later. I think, to me, like after they got to Alexandria, but that's why I didn't have her on this list. But Tyrese, when they got to like the prison situation, he was kind of becoming more and more important. But he kind of wasn't on the show that long, but he still put in a lot of work and stuff. Kind of shame how he went out. He got bit while in so and so's house or whatever.
Yeah.
Bit twice by a walker, and
Noah's
then he
house.
ended up bleeding
Remember?
out.
They went to go
Yeah.
give Noah back to his house, but then he got bitten and
Hmm.
then he started seeing people that
Yeah.
affected his life.
True. Yeah. Um. And then I have to say, like, my number 9 would be like maybe Shane. And the reason I put Shane lower down on the list is, I feel like he was important early on before he got crazy, right? Um, in terms of kind of like, you know, being Rick's kind of right hand man, or being kind of more, I guess, willing to like make the tough choices, right? And at first that was necessary, but then it became a thing where he was always challenging Rick's leadership and stuff, and then later he just kind of became mental. you know,
Exactly. And before you say your
Sometimes, yeah.
8, I'll say
Hmm.
my 10 and 9 because that's how I would like to do it if we
Yeah,
take turns on that.
got it. Okay. Yep.
But what do you have to say about Shane still? Do you have anything else?
That's about it. That's about it. His final episode was uh it was kind of like a collision course kind of thing. You kind of saw something bad coming.
Hmm.
But yeah, uh, and Carl had to be the one to put him down, or put the Walker version of him down. So
Which was
yeah.
well deserved. Carl needed to do that.
Hmm. And then yeah, that's my 10 and 9.
All right. My 10 is T Dog. Now,
Mm.
when
Hmm.
we look at members of the group here, I was like T Dog. He
Mm.
was strong. He was a caring guy, and
Hmm.
he was an underrated character that I feel
Mm.
like if he could have probably survived if it wasn't for the raid at the prison and how he got bit, but
Mm.
he died saving Carol. Then Carol
Yeah.
had to put him down, and then when he got bit, I was like, "Fuck, man, damn, my
Yeah.
boy, he's gone."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I would have loved to see what he would have done in later seasons or if he would have gone on, but we all miss T Dog. And my number
Mm.
9 is Bob. You and I were talking about this the other day.
Oh.
Now, I love me Bob, bro. And I love that they actually had a character named Bob. because he was with a
Yeah.
group before he met up with Daryl and Rick. He was with a group before
Mhm.
that. Then after that, he was on his own. He was chilling up on that truck, like all by himself. And I was like,
Mhm.
this is an interesting cat, you know? I wanted to learn more about him. And then there was that situation at the college where he got the
Mhm.
booze and Daryl was going to leave him and make him leave the prison. But then Bob, like, turned out differently, especially after
Mhm.
him and Sasha got close. So I was happy to see they kept him around. And his
Yeah.
death, where he was tainted meat. I'm tainted meat, you prick. You know,
That
it
whole
was.
thing was crazy. Yeah.
They're all eating his leg, and then when he gets dropped off at the church, and then they avenge him basically because Rick said to Gareth, "I still owe you a promise," because he told him when
Mhm.
they captured him, "There's a machete with a red handle in the bag. I'm gonna kill you with it." And then when they do it, it was him,
Mhm.
Abraham, Sasha, and I think it was just them three that killed off that group. I believe there was four. I forget who the fourth person was because I know there was two that they killed with the guns, and then there
Mhm.
was three or four that they killed with knives and stuff, just
Yeah.
fucking them up. And
The-
I forget who the fourth was. I know it was Abraham, Sasha, and Rick, but then Tyrese was watching from afar, and Gabriel comes up. What are you doing? This is the Lord's house. And then somebody was like, this is just four walls and a roof. And then his Bob's death, bro, how they all said goodbye. And then he said goodbye to Judith and Rick.
yeah.
Rick being the leader, all of them saying their goodbyes, and Sasha killing him before he turned. I was like, wow, bro, that got me at the heartstrings. So, yeah,
Yeah.
he's at my number 9.
Okay.
But who's your 8 and 7?
Um, I want to say Abraham and Maggie.
Okay, talk about who's your 8. Talk about that one
Abraham.
first, then talk about your 7.
Okay, Abraham because of the military stuff that he brought to the group, and they kind of needed that at that time because of where they were. You know, pre-Alexandria, they needed somebody who had military experience because I don't think they had anybody. Um, but you know, of course, with his little subgroup, you know, there's a lot that remained to be seen. As you saw, like Eugene wasn't who he he said he was.
Exactly, dude. So fucked up.
He literally told this guy, "I got to get to Washington because we can find a cure," and it was all a hoax. It was
Literally.
all.
Damn, bro. Damn. And did you see how Abraham fucked up Eugene in that moment? Oh
Oh
my
yeah.
God.
Oh man. But like I think but wasn't it before I guess when they first all had found each other before Eugene told them about that mission,
So it was
Abraham was
literally
kind
just
of
that it was Abraham's group with
yeah,
Maggie and
yeah.
Glenn and I think Tara because
Okay.
Tara
Uh,
feels like she owed something to Glenn and she wanted to prove that. But then when they finally met up with Maggie, they uh
yeah.
they had that whole thing. But I know that once Eugene told him, he was like saying, "I'm not a scientist," because Abraham was like ready to get going and he was on a mission. But then Abraham just beat the ever living
Oh
dog
yeah.
shit. Gene.
Because they went into the backstory a little bit about how they met, and Abraham kind of was demoralized. If I don't know if I'm remembering this right, but I remember Abraham kind of being demoralized, and then Eugene telling them about that cure that kind of got him going. You know, gave him a
Well, remember
mission.
his
You know,
Abraham's family left him in that store, and he was wondering where they went. And then he
oh, that's
basically
right.
was on his own. Then Eugene's like, "Hey, I have an important mission for you." Then what we find out during that, they met
Yeah.
Rosita at some point, but then they also had others that died trying to
Uh,
get Eugene to Washington.
yeah. Oh my gosh. That was a mess.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So yeah, that Abraham's number 8. Maggie. Now I can't remember if pre Alexandria. I can't remember. Like I know Maggie became a bigger deal later,
She was a pretty
but she was
decently
kind
big
of
deal when she was coming in because remember after Herschel
after
died and
Herschel died.
she lost Beth
Hmm.
too. Like she
Ah,
literally was going through it, but Glenn was the only thing I think was keeping her stable.
that's right. That's right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. 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 I had to throw her in there, but okay, that's my eight
Eight
and
and seven.
seven. Yeah.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
my 8 and 7, you're probably gonna be shocked where I have these two ranked. So my
Mm.
number 8 is Rick. Now, hear me out. I love Rick, man, and I thought he brought the group together. He held the group together. It's nothing against where I put him. He's in my top 10, so I feel like that's good. But the Rick character, he's the one that
Mm.
started things. Morgan trained him. Morgan
Mm.
helped him understand what the walkers were, that don't
Ah.
use guns as much. Guns should be used as a last resort. But then he had that iconic gun, bro. I'm sorry. That gun of his, that I think it's like a revolver, right? Was
Yeah.
iconic as fuck.
Uh-huh.
And like, yeah, there was a good point where they were using guns, but like at the same time, they knew they had to be smart about it. Like he was always trying to make sure he got back to his wife and kid. He did that. He
Yeah.
was trying to
Yeah.
make sure that he thought the kid was his, that she was pregnant with, Lori was pregnant with, but then it turns out her and Shane were having a freaking affair. And I really, now that I'm thinking about it, I
Uh-huh.
think even if Rick knew that, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think he really would have cared because at the end of the day, Judith is still his girl. That's his daughter.
Yeah.
And
True.
he has a son. So like
Mm-hmm.
and he loved Lori. And I love the fact of how strong he was and how much he survived within a weird period. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he was
Yeah.
always there for his people. He formed bonds with each one of the group members and motivated them. So I thought Rick's character deserved to be on my list somewhere. And my number 7 is his son, Carl. Good old
Oh, okay.
Carl. So Carl. Okay, here's what's the fucked up part. I think you can see what I'm talking about. Right at the end of one of the episodes, he gets his ass shot, bro.
Yeah.
Boom. Wait, what? We have to wait until next week, next episode. Wait, what the fuck? This is bullshit. You better do a 2-episode special. And then fucking
This was right before they found the farm, right?
Yes.
And Otis shot
before
him.
that,
It was Otis.
exactly. By
yeah.
accident, Otis, the one that got killed off when him and Shane went to that
Mhm.
medical place for supplies, and then Shane lied about how he really died. And that was so fucked up. Shane's
The
a
Walkers
fucked
got
up
to him.
character. When you put
Nothing
him
I
at
could
your
do.
top 10, I was like, damn, bro, you must really hate the group. but Carl,
Well,
even before that, he was looking up to
yeah.
Shane. Did you notice that? Am I the only one that
Yeah.
noticed that? Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. That's true.
Do you think Shane was only doing that because he was dating his mom, but it also seemed like at a time Shane was actually like his uncle because Rick and him were best friends, but like I don't know, it just seemed
It
like
was it was complicated because of the whole Lori thing and stuff, and I think that ultimately that's what made Shane kind of loopy. You know, it was that because when Rick came back, he just it messed with him. You know, because you got to consider that like he kind of just left him in the hospital and left him for dead. So here he shows up and he's trying to continue business as usual with his wife, not knowing what was Shane's role and everything. So
exactly.
oh man, it's just crazy. But yeah, and the zombie apocalypse will have people thinking crazy anyway. But yeah, he was unhinged, but at the same time, like sometimes his instincts might have been right about some things. But it's like he and Rick had to kind of temper each other,
Exactly.
Yeah, but anywho,
but
yeah. So Carl, okay. Mm-hmm.
Before we do get to your 6 and 5, I do want to say a few things on Carl. Carl's character development was interesting to me. Like he was such a nice kid until there was this one scene when the prison was being raided. Him and Herschel, and I think Beth was with him. One of the people of the governor was like a kid that was like probably a few years older than him. He puts down the gun, but then Carl just shoots him. And
Oh,
Herschel tries to tell Rick that he just shot him in cold blood because Carl started to lie, say he drew a gun on us. And then Rick was mad at him, but Herschel was also trying to show the fact to Rick that, Rick, you have to make sure that your boy is under control here, because it looked like Carl was becoming like a second version of Shane, but I don't think it would
oh,
have ever got to that point. I feel like
yeah.
Carl just needed guidance, like was happening. Like Herschel was definitely something that guided him, and I will talk about him later because he's in my
Uh,
list later. But yeah, Carl, cool character, and I loved how he developed and how he got that signature eye patch and stuff, and how he grew up. And his death, though, and from Alexandria, even though we're not there yet, we'll talk about that. But it was sad. But I was happy to see how his character grew from the prison, learning from his
yeah.
family, and basically
Mm.
gaining, yeah, like him and Michonne grew a close bond as friends, which I thought was awesome too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Your go. You're 6 and 5. Start with your number 6, then tell us about your number 5.
I have to say Herschel because
Oh, he's
his
number 6.
his yeah, because I mean, a combination of his wisdom and the fact that they needed something that's close to, I mean, he's a veterinarian, but they needed a doctor.
Exactly.
They needed
Exactly. Yeah.
somebody who, in a post-apocalyptic zombie world, the veterinarian is the doctor.
Exactly.
So,
Oh yeah, bro. Doesn't matter what your skills are before you. But
mhm,
it's like Glenn with I read about pizzas.
mhm. And then he was a little naive about with the nature of the walkers. I think it wasn't he the one that thought that they were still people in there,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
could be.
Because he kept them in that barn, remember? But then Shane took
Mm,
the chain off, shot them all up because
mm,
some of the walkers were their family in a sense, and
mm,
Herschel, that's when he just didn't understand as well. But then over time, he became a
yeah,
big mentor.
yeah. Didn't he lose his leg or something?
Yeah. He lost his foot.
His
That's what it
foot?
was. But I
They had to
believe
chop
it was
something
either
off
before. It was at the prison
at the
somewhere. I know it
prison.
was at the
Yeah,
prison.
yeah, something like that happened. I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh, they had been through so much stuff, but yeah, he was. It's kind of like Dale was kind of like the ethics debater, I guess. Herschel was kind of like that a little bit to a certain extent. He just was like, trying to be the wise man of the group, and hey, Rick, you really got to, you know, think about this, think about that, and so I think he was important. I hated to see what happened to him, the way that
Yeah,
things ended for him.
with the
Which,
governor.
yeah, and yeah, uh, but I think Herschel was a very important character that kind of centered the group, uh, you know,
Yes.
somewhat. So, let me see one. Oh, okay. So that was my number 6. My number 5 is actually Michonne. Um,
Wow. Oh my God.
maybe she
Okay.
should be. Maybe she should be
No,
ranked
no, I
higher,
think it's
but
unique because we're supposed to compare lists because
yeah,
I like this.
yeah.
I like the differentiate.
Mm.
Please tell us. Yeah, talk about Michonne. Give her some hype.
So this is based on, of course, pre-Alexandria. Of course, they met her when she came to the prison with those two
Uh-huh.
zombies in tow.
Her
I
brothers.
guess
She
her
had her
brothers.
brothers
Yeah,
originally.
yeah. And then, of course, she had been out in the elements and just kind of distrustful of everybody and stuff. So she had to learn to trust people again. All that stuff. Oh, by the way, there's like Telltale Games had that. The Walking Dead series and stuff, and they had one based
Oh yeah,
off of
the game.
Michonne,
Yeah.
and yeah, they
Yeah.
had she had her own mini thing there, which is actually interesting. If you ever see a let's play of it, it's pretty cool. It was a good
Oh
story,
yeah.
yeah, origin story. but
Agreed.
but yeah, just she had the just the struggle of having to be a survivalist and then learn how to basically interact with others again, that kind of thing. But she
Stop
was
being so
very
dark and brooding.
she trusted her gut, followed her instincts, and she was mean with a katana. You know.
Yeah, she was dark and brooding. She was like Batman. She doesn't
Yeah.
trust anybody.
Oh yeah. She was good with that katana. Just.
Oh, dude, that katana, bro, that was scary. That thing. Oh,
Yeah.
what? Anything else to say on Michonne before I get to mine?
No, no, no.
What's funny about you putting Herschel at your number six? He is legit my number six.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
I just like you said, like, what more can we say? Herschel, one a
Hmm.
cool character because he was wise. He helped save Carl from dying.
Yeah.
He gave the group a home even after so many hesitations. And I know there was a point where he said they could stay, but Shane had to like I believe Shane had to be voted off and do his own thing. And then when they
Hmm.
had those people that like he kept like a prisoner, Shane did, and
Hmm.
like we were just talking about the zombies and stuff, the walkers, sorry, the walkers,
Hmm.
zombies, same difference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
those walkers in the barn, and I think after that, Herschel started to understand that they are just literally creatures that are now used to be human that only care about a few things, and basically the big just is eating, like their need to feed. And Herschel, he lost his foot, but he was still there, even though he was just a veteran, a vet, not a veteran, but he was still a doctor like figure. Like, look how much people's lives he saved. Like, and look what he
Yeah.
did. Like, he helped keep the group stable when Rick was there. And there was that time where he was taking care of all their people that they gotten in. Remember that when that big flu went around?
Yeah. Hmm.
Where they had to
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
people, yeah, where they had to keep people in one area of the prison, and then Glenn was like dying, and then he saved Glenn and a few others, but then there were ones that died because they got turned into walkers. Because if you
Hmm.
die, or if you just die like that, you're gonna turn into a walker unless you get killed off. But
Yeah.
yeah, Herschel did a lot, and then when his death came by the governor, oh man, how much I wanted to smack up the governor, bro.
Yeah.
It was sad. Herschel will never be forgotten, but he lives on through Maggie's son, which is now named Herschel, which I thought was cool, which is
Hmm.
later during Alexandria times, which we shall talk about in the future. But my number five is one of his daughters, Maggie. So,
Hmm.
like you stated, Maggie was a bit more of a central character later on, but once I saw Maggie, it was just like, wow, there's something about her. And then she also had a strong wit to her, almost like a Michonne and like a
Hmm.
Lori, how they were strong wielded, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
she wasn't
Yeah.
afraid to take shit from anybody. She will beat the living crap out of you, whether you are male or female. I would not want to piss her off, damn. And her and Glenn, bro, they're two lovebirds. They're like high school kids. You got to keep them away from each other.
Right. Yeah.
And
Uh-huh.
it seemed
Yeah.
like Herschel didn't really care that him and Maggie got together, but she kind of did at the same time. But it was just also like they're two people in the apocalypse forming a
Hmm.
bond, and good for them. And Maggie's character development over time, you could tell how strong she was to
Yeah.
like how much she wanted to see Glenn and how much Glenn wanted to see her. And then when they finally got back together through Tara, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And I was happy to see that we were able to see, like I said earlier, Herschel, another
Hmm.
Herschel, which I thought was awesome. But Maggie, definitely a strong willed character, a badass you don't want to piss off. And she was at the prison.
Hmm.
She, her and her sister Beth had a good combination. It's always good to see that sisterlyhood, but she got fucked up. Lost her father, lost her mother, lost her
Hmm.
sister. What else is new? You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like, fuck.
man, yeah, it's always something. Yep, yep.
Mm-hmm. And then she found Glenn, which I really kept her up until later times, which we'll probably talk about when we get to the villains, because one of those particular villains is in my top 10 over there, but we'll talk about that later. But yeah,
Mm.
Maggie, my number five. Who's your number four and number three?
All right, so my number four is Glenn. I feel like Glenn was kind of like the optimist,
I
to a
hear what
certain
you're saying.
extent. He believed that there was good in people. Even the guy that got Noah killed because he was being a coward.
Yeah, that's
Um,
the one I was talking about with the sword situation.
Nicholas, I think was his name,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
He he could have just he could have just said, you know what, you know, but he said, I'm going to try
And that was during
to
their time at
save you.
Alexandria too.
Oh, I'm jumping ahead too much. Okay.
No, you're perfectly
Uh,
fine. I hear what you're saying. That's why I brought up that situation earlier
mm,
with Noah in my top 10 mentions. But
yeah.
I do see what you're saying. But no, you're perfectly fine. Continue.
Yeah, it's just kind of like he still believed that people could be he didn't give up on people.
Exactly.
He thought there was hope for individuals. So yeah, that's why I look at them being kind of the optimist of the group. And that was important for them to have because
Exactly.
you can't have all doom and gloom and you
And he
know.
was Rick's right hand man.
Yep,
Remember that.
that's true. That's very true. That's very true. Um, and yeah, and then
Okay.
so my number three is Carol.
Oh
Um,
boy, wow. You gotta let's hear it. Let's hear it, bro. Remember, this is before
this
Alexandria, but she was
is this
definitely going
is
through it.
this
Oh
is
yeah.
true. I think once the terminus stuff happened and she started picking people off, that's when
The
I had to
prison.
look
Don't forget the
uh, oh
prison.
the the prison too. Yeah, I had to
Remember
start
the two
looking at
little girls that she mentored? That situation?
the look at the
Yeah.
flower, the look at the flower situation.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Carol had some character development that occurred over the
She lost her
seasons.
daughter. She was being
Yeah,
abused by her husband that got killed off, and
yeah.
yeah.
She really evolved a lot,
Oh yeah.
like
Oh yeah.
just the autobiography of Carol, she went through so many phases, but I just think I want to say like once she basically took the initiative of I gotta get my people out of here because this this ain't good, and she put that together with that sniper rifle, man. And she I didn't know she had it in her.
Bam, 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 bam.
Cause I'm like, did she have any I didn't know she had any training. So that was just all adrenaline or something, like
Mhm.
or just I don't know how she did it. So, but but when that happened, I was like, Carol. People sleep on Carol, but see, you know, because of her marriage, she was being abused and stuff like that. Then when she got out of that, and then she kind of was put in situations where she had to do what she had to do, you see a different side of Carol. Carol
That-
will become, just basically Miss Survivalist out of
Exactly.
nowhere. And there's a lot of times within, just later on in the season, in different seasons and stuff like that, where it was pretty much Carol being Carol, but like you wouldn't have thought that from like season one, you know, that she had it in her, but she became who she had to be, you know, and so I I want to say like sometimes you have people that they have like a hidden knack for stuff, like you wouldn't know, but they surprise you because they kind of rise to the situation. That's Carol. Like
Yeah.
she's more than meets the eye, basically. Like
Exactly.
and but then she would have her times where she just kind of I know. Well, I'm jumping ahead. Like later when the stuff started with the saviors, she kind of
Oh
checked
God.
out. She checked out after that light. Well, not was it the lighthouse? Well, whenever they went to hit the saviors at that watch,
Okay, you're talking
that
about the whole. You're
the
talking about the
first the
situation when you're talking about when they went to go hit the Saviors, like
yeah,
full on.
first, right,
Okay, so
right.
that
So
was season 8, episode 2,
she
episode
checked
1.
out at that point because um Rick was talking to that guy. And the guy was like, "Yeah, I'm Negan, and there's about to be a bunch of stuff happening, so we could talk about that." And Rick just shot him, right? Just let him finish. And then Carol was sitting there. Carol was just sitting there clutching the rosary or whatever.
Yeah,
And you could tell she was
exactly.
breaking. And then she kind of was like, "I've had my fill of this. I can't do this," And then she just kind of was off by herself for a while, but. Um, but it's not easy to be um it's just not easy to function in that world, you know. So, and sometimes even she needed a break, you know. She she needed a break.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, that's all I got to say about Carol. But she's my number three.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
My number four is
Mm-hmm.
Glenn. So
Okay.
I think we could just keep on talking. Like Glenn was a good guy. He was basically
Mm-hmm.
a scout, and he became Rick's,
Yeah.
in my opinion, second hand man. And he was
Mm-hmm.
somebody that stuck with the group and somebody that
Mm-hmm.
cared about the group and was always trying. He also kept the group together at times, and he could get into spaces the other group couldn't because one, he was smaller, but he also was smarter because he knows his way around the cities because he would deliver pizzas. And even going forward in the places he never did that at, he
Yeah.
had such a great character development. And then he found Maggie, and he also was still stuck by Rick. Like he always made sure that Rick always made sure that everybody had a voice. And he also especially made sure that Glenn had a voice in what was going to happen. And Glenn came up with some great ideas. And Glenn tried to keep the peace. Remember when Abraham was trying to keep his side of the group to keep Eugene of Washington while Rick
Mm-hmm.
stayed at the church with the rest of them. Like there was like
Yeah.
that time where Glenn was like, "Fine, I'll go with Abraham," and Abraham like eventually grew up to like Glenn and their bond, and it was just great to see that. And I thought him and Rick really had like a almost like a father son relationship in a sense, in my opinion. Rick was a little bit older,
Yeah.
and Glenn was like somewhat younger, but it was also like a brotherhood almost in a sense, however you want to see it. But Glenn also bonded with about every member of the group in his own way, and everybody loved Glenn. And like, dude, it was so sad to see what happened to him later, which we shall talk about in the future. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he is at my number four. My number three is Michonne.
Okay.
Now,
Yeah.
I had to put her high up in the list because, like you said, man, that katana, bro. Don't fuck with Michonne, dude. I'd be scared of a girl with a
Mm-hmm.
fucking katana coming at me. And women are scary in general, bro. So
Yeah.
she come at
Mm-hmm.
me, bro. And like, you don't want to mess with Michonne. And like,
Mm-mm.
she could take care of walkers if she wanted to by herself. She didn't need help some of the time. And she also was good at finding stuff. And I thought there was a funny moment between her and Carl when Carl was trying to get something for like a picture frame. And then she pulls out like a cat that's all colorful. This was just too damn cute.
Right. Right.
Where did you pull that out from? I'm confused. And like freaking yeah, bro. Like she was a badass character. Like from the prison to how she
Mm-hmm.
stuck with the group, and her and Rick, of course, grew close. Happy for them. It was good to see that she never lost that fire, though. You know what I'm saying? Out of all the characters, I don't think she ever lost the fire that she first brought in with. If that makes sense.
Right. True.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um.
that's my number three. Who's your number two? So before you tell me your number one, just tell me your number two. Then I'll tell my number two, and then we'll each reveal our number one by taking turns. But you tell your number two and discuss it, and then I'll discuss my number two.
All right. I have to say Daryl. Daryl because
Okay.
just um pretty much the right hand of Rick and stuff. And I mean he was he he was serious about keeping everybody okay. He hadn't been kind of like just corrupted by all the stuff. Um he still had his humanity. I mean, he'd seen a lot of stuff happen. Merle uh going through his villain arc uh, and then redemption arc. It probably messed with him, but no, Daryl. One thing that I thought was interesting is and this might have been before Alexandria too. Whenever Daryl met up with Joe and the Claimers, Do you remember them
That
on the
was right
road
before Terminus. That was before
before
Terminus.
Terminus? Okay,
Remember?
because they
Because
had all
he
split
was
up,
separated from
right?
the group.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Okay. And a lot of them ended up in the same trailer. Okay, that's right. They're like they're gonna be mad. They're gonna be real mad when they find out. You know. I remember
exactly.
that. But yeah. What was I gonna say? Oh, it was funny because the group that Daryl found, they were the group that Rick killed one of their people, and in the house,
Uh
and then
huh.
uh, and then it was just kind of like it was like it was hinted, and then when they started talking about this guy that killed one of their guys and stuff, and this, that, and the other, and Daryl was like, "What? Did anybody see what he looked like?" It was like, "Well, so and so saw what he looked like," uh, and I was just kind of like, "Uh oh."
Yeah.
But then, of course, if I'm not mistaken, when they ran into Rick and Carl, that was yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was yeah. Joe and them deserve to die.
Yeah.
Deserve to die.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, yeah. Gee whiz. Um, which is crazy because when Daryl was sitting there talking to them, they seemed like they're just survivalists, but not like nuts. So uh, you never know. You never know how people are gonna. But anyway, yeah.
That's
So
your number
yeah,
two.
there's my number two. Yeah.
Well, my number two
Yeah.
is Tyrese. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I put him up there with some other people? But at the same time, bro, such a great character when he first comes in. He was such a gentle giant. And when he first
hmm
met Rick and them, that's when Rick was seeing Lori, like, even though she
hmm
was dead. He's like,
Mm.
who are you? And they're just like, all right, man, calm down, calm down. And then eventually does the whole thing with the prison where they let them bury two of their dead, and then he eventually got welcomed into the prison with Sasha, and then he met
Mm.
oh gosh, I forget her name. I think her name was Karen. Yeah, he dated a Karen, y'all. Be scared. And then freaking
Mm.
Tyrese, though, when he found out that Karen was dead,
Mm.
and then
hmm
he did not know who it was, and then he punches the crap out of Rick, and then Rick beats him up till his eye is just busted. And then there was a scene where I forget who he was in the car with, but they came across the thing of walkers, right? And he just
hmm
kills like basically the whole group of walkers by his fucking self. Like,
Yeah.
dude, he
Yeah.
fucking demolished those. I'm scared for the walkers. I'm not scared for him. I'm scared for the walkers' sake, bro. Like
Yeah.
those walkers, bro, got fucked up, and then he, when they got separated, at the prison after the whole thing with the governor, Nika and her sister, remember the two girls that were mentored by Carol,
hmm
he was with Judith too, so he was taking care of her for
That's
Rick
true.
to
Yeah.
help out Rick while they were gone, and he was protecting them, and it was good to see how like he literally was a caring man, a caring, gentle giant that is rare to see at times. And then they met up
Yeah.
with Carol. Then Carol eventually did that thing to the girls where one of them got killed off by the sister, and then she killed off the sister. But that was fucked up. But damn! But then eventually she told Tyrese that she was the one that killed off Karen and a few others because she was afraid that the sickness would get out. But
Yeah.
Tyrese looked like he forgave her, and
hmm
she wanted him to. Remember, he was supposed to kill one of the guys from Terminus, one of the cannibals, right?
Yeah.
He told her that he did, but then come to find out later, he's at the church with Gareth, and then he gets killed off finally. But Tyrese, he was a big caring giant and such a great member of the group. Him and Sasha, that brotherly sister bond, bro. It was awesome to see. And when they got Noah home, and then he got bitten, bro, and then he was bleeding out there. He started to see the two girls, and he started to see the guy that he was supposed to kill, and then he started seeing the governor. I was like, why are they showing those two fuckers too? I understand and the little girls because he took care of them and how they affected his life. But at the same time, why did he show the two bad guys? I was just like, huh, I guess there must be some reason. But the governor must have affected him too, because remember, him and Sasha were with the governor at a point.
That's right. I forgot about
Uh
that.
huh. Yeah. But Tyrese, I was so sad when he died. Great character. R.I.P. Tyrese. Who is your number one, brother?
Rick. Yeah.
I should have guessed that. Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, just now Rick had his ups and downs. I'll say that. But he was really kind of the constant. Well, most of the time when he was there, he was the leader of the group and the one that wanted to just make sure he kept everybody together and didn't want to lose sight. I mean, he had his little feral stage, before like since we're talking about pre-Alexandria, because remember how Alexandria thought he was too extreme. Y'all have just been out here too long.
No,
Remember?
literally.
They didn't want to accept them into the community because they're just like, y'all might be too far gone. Y'all might not fit well here.
They're like the ones that actually know what to do
Yeah.
outside the walls.
Yeah, and yeah, Rick was saying, what are you going to do when stuff happens? You need people who can help you survive, and then Rick kind of was in hyper aggressive mode. He had his moments where he was like, "This ain't no democracy."
Oh
I
yeah,
remember
Rick will shut that
that.
shit down, and it wasn't like he was trying to be controlling, but everybody looked up to him as a leader. I think
Yeah,
you can agree right there. Like
yeah.
they always looked to Rick in those senses. And do you want to talk about some of those moments before he got to Alexandria and such? Like you were talking about at the beginning of us talking about how he was in the hospital, woke up in this, and I talked a little bit about how he met up with
Mm,
Morgan. I feel the only
yeah.
reason he had a group and the only reason he kept a group together, in a sense, was because of Morgan motivating him. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it was like he was always trying to leave breadcrumbs for Morgan to find his way to where they were going
Because they
because he
had
would
those
always leave
walkie-talkies
notes.
that they were supposed to
Yeah,
call on until they eventually died out on those, remember?
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, he was always, and it was like he did want to maintain some level of optimism that you know his group or his people could find a stable place that they can have some kind of shelter from all that. And Alexandria was the first, I guess, probably the first stable place like that. Aside from the prison, the prison wasn't
It was
the prison
stable, but
structurally.
until they
It
had the
was,
outbreak and the governor
yeah,
happened, then those
yeah.
happened. You
It
know
it
what
was
I'm
it was
saying?
a stable structure, but it was strategically a bad place because people were trying to get in, and then the prisoners that were there was trying to revolt, and it was always some bad stuff going on there, and of course they couldn't stay there, you know.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think yeah, Rick's my number one of the list because well, without Rick. Um, I don't think the group would have. I don't think it would have been a group. A bunch of people that he. I think was it him who developed those questions that they asked people. It was I forgot what the questions were, but
Yeah,
it was like
yeah.
three
Oh my
questions or
God.
something.
Yes.
Um,
How many walkers have you killed? How many people have you killed? And I forget
mhm.
the third question. I believe those were the first two, though.
Yeah, yeah, I gotta look that up. But it was just basically like their little interview. And I remember when he ran into that lady in the wilderness or in the woods with the black dress on, and
Oh,
she
you talking
her
about the homeless
husband.
girl?
Yeah, and her husband
Oh
was like,
gosh, the one where she said that
yeah,
my husband was just some food, and then because he was far gone, she was
she
far
did the
gone.
reveal of where her husband was. It was just kind of like
Uh-huh.
that's him. Really, you're just gonna lure me to be eaten by a walkerhead? Really? You know,
No, for
really?
real, that was wild, wild times, bro, wild times.
Yeah, but well, yeah. So that's mine. And then your number one.
Okay, I think he had to be on
Mhm.
here on the list, and Daryl was my number one. What could I
Okay.
say, bro? The
Okay.
badass hunter. When you first meet him, he's literally coming out with some food that he caught over there, and then he's wondering where his brother Merle is, and then Rick tells him he left him on the roof, and then Daryl, he's not afraid to do anything to anybody. He's not as remorseful as like other people. Like, he wouldn't give a shit if you were Walker or not. You fuck with the group or you fuck with him, bro. God help
Yeah.
you. Daryl's a badass, just straight badass. Has that
True.
signature crossbow that always stuck with him, and those two knives that became like his signature later on, those two buck-like knives, which I thought were
Mm.
cool. Um,
Yeah.
his character development was good, and he stuck around from the beginning to the prison, became like their hunter, the guy that would go patrol for the group and keep an eye on the group. And like, even though he liked to be a lone wolf, him and Carol became like a best friends situation because they both bonded over things. And I thought that was cool to see. And Daryl was one that even tried to help her find her daughter. Like, he would keep looking for days and days and days until he found her, but he couldn't find her. But Carol, she had that development. And Daryl, like I said, he was just a badass with that crossbow and just a badass in general. And he had that situation with Bob, but then he eventually started to trust Bob. And then there was that moment when him and Beth, where they got drunk together, and then he got like an emotional moment. Because I feel like every character has like their emotional breakdown, and he
Yeah.
finally had a breakdown right there after losing Merle and stuff. And I know that was
Mhm.
hard on him because that was his only brother that looked out for him, and he always looked up to Merle. But then he stood up to Merle when the whole situation with the governor and shit happened. And I remember there was a moment where
Mhm.
he was seeing him, even though he was dead. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and but when him and Beth were drunk, Beth hugged him because he was crying and he has been drunk and all. Then they set that shack on fire, and they're like, "Whoopee!" like,
Right.
and
Yeah.
then and then when Beth got kidnapped, I remember when they were trying to find out where she was, and it was that bitch Dawn who I fucked. That fucking cop lady, bro, was a fucking cunt.
Oh
Anyway.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know
Speaking
exactly
of
what I'm
her,
talking. Oh, we'll
she's
talk about her too because she's actually in my top 10. But before that, he avenged Beth by shooting her in the head. Remember when they did that
yep.
trade because she
Yep.
shot Beth because Beth
Hmm.
stabbed her,
Stabbed her.
and
Yeah.
then she's like,
Hmm.
"No, no, no," in a no audible. Then Daryl goes up, and then Daryl walks out, and then bro, it was, oh my gosh. And he was always a prominent character, so he's my number one. And thank
Yeah.
you, Ali, for your top 10 of the members before Alexandria. And I thought our lists were both fire. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. 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 Good stuff.
Now, here comes the fun one. Now,
Mm.
when we talk about villains, let's just do like how we did like the final two of our picks. You'll say your number 10 and discuss it. Then I'll say my number 10 and discuss it. And we'll just keep going back and forth from there.
Okay. I got some honorable mentions.
All right, yeah, yeah. Let's hear your honorable mentions, brother.
I have to say Joe and the Claimers. Um, Owen from the Wolves. Remember the Wolves? When they invaded
Oh
Alexandria,
my
they did
gosh, the guys
quite a
with the
bit of damage.
W's.
They did a W on their foreheads and stuff. And then
Yeah.
some people won't see it this way, but I think Dr. Jenner at the CDC kind of did a bad thing blowing it up. I mean, he could have kept it open for people. You know what I mean? He didn't have to do
My
that.
head.
He could have just left the building for people to
To be clear, did you
survivors
pick
to find
characters
him.
or did you add group to your top 10 when it came to villains?
I think I think I will lump the group the villain along with their group. I think I'll do it like that so it's
Okay,
not
okay. So
confusing.
basically,
Yeah.
do you have like a top 10? Is
Mm.
it like you have like a group on there, but then you have like a person?
So for example, if it's like I lump
Don't tell me. Just tell
the
me like an
villain
example like
with
this.
the
So
group
you have
they're
somebody that's from that
associated
group.
with, right?
Okay,
Okay.
you
Okay.
they're in there with that number is what you're saying.
I have to, because otherwise it's like I don't want to be in a situation where like the person from the group and then the group are separate entries. Yeah, I don't want to do that. I'm just gonna lump them together. So, for
Okay.
example, what was I? Oh, another honorable mention I was going to throw in there is the Commonwealth. Although that's kind of late in the late in the series and
Well, no,
stuff.
that's the thing. We could pick villains from any era, brother.
Mhm.
That was the thing.
Yeah.
When it came to
Mhm.
villains, that was different. So if you did not put in like later villains, because I
Okay.
got mine literally designated to a top 10 characters, but since
Yeah.
you said you're adding in groups, we may have to revisit this conversation so I can make some
Yeah.
changes.
The reason that I throw the Commonwealth in there is so here's the thing. I think when I was watching the main show, I had a sense of what the Commonwealth was, and they tried to make it seem like they were there to do good for the good of humanity. But then when I watched one of those side shows, it was like the one that had to do with there's a college campus or something.
Fear the Walking
It
Dead.
was no, not Fear of Walking Dead. It was like it was based on this really smart girl whose father was a scientist,
Beyond the
and
Walking Dead? Oh, wait.
maybe it
Was
was
it Tales of the Walking Dead?
it was like a short series. It was
I think it was Tales then, because I thought Tales was the shortest.
it had the Commonwealth in it, right? It had the Commonwealth in it, and it showed the dark side of the Commonwealth. Like it's
Yeah.
like they were diabolical.
Yeah.
In fact, I probably should have put top 10, but I forgot. So I just threw them in honorable mention because they okay. I don't know if you've seen said episode that I'm thinking about, but
I've
they
seen everything of
literally
The Walking Dead.
different thing. Okay, so they directed a super herd into a city and had the walkers basically destroy the city for what I can't remember why. Maybe because they wanted to go in and clean out the walkers and take the city for themselves. I can't remember why they did it, but there were people in that city. It was like a fortified Richmond, maybe, or it was some city, and there were lots of people there. They just directed. They herded the herd there, and those zombies just tore it up, and they did it on purpose. They also
Yeah.
destroyed. They used that same tactic to destroy a college campus that was relatively safe. They would go from place to place. They would take you if you had value to them, and then they would kind of wipe away whatever was there. They would just take all the tech and the resources and the books and all, the smart people or whatever, and they would the useful people, and then they would everybody else is a casualty. And I didn't know that. I didn't realize that they operated that way from watching the main show. It wasn't until I watched that side show, and then I was just kind of I said they're evil. I said they diabolical, man. Like they're organized diabolicalisms.
Yeah.
So I put that's why I put them in my honorable mentions at least. Anywho, yeah. Um, Now my list is kind of all over the place. Let me see. I threw
I
Merle in there as
literally
my
just
number
started writing
10.
down groups, so I'm just gonna go by group at this point because what
That's
after you
fine.
put them down. So that's what I'm gonna do, and then I'll talk
Yeah.
about the people within the group.
Mm,
That's what I'll do.
okay. That's
But
fine.
my honorable mentions
Mm.
don't really have any because I think I basically have all the villains I need. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah, that's true.
like I have them all. It's like shit,
Mm.
man. That kind of bit. I think the only person you're gonna laugh at how I have this because this person was not really a part of any villain group, but he was a villain. But like I said, you say your top 10 and discuss it. Like you say your number 10 and discuss it, and then I'll say my number 10 and discuss it. We'll keep going back and forth from there. You start with your number 10 and discuss it, then I'll tell you mine.
I have to say, like my number 10 is Merle because just a hole all around, and he sided with the governor and did a lot of despicable stuff. I mean, yeah, he had a redemption arc at the end, but he did a lot. He did a lot of damage before that, so he made my top 10 list. He was a problem early on for the group. That's why. Um, you want me to do a number 9
No,
as
I'll tell you
well?
my number
Oh,
10, but
okay. One by
keep
one.
talking
Okay.
about Merle for a little bit. Give Merle some love.
Merle, I remember at some point. Oh, when he was left on the rooftop, he had to like saw his hand off or something, right? So then he had
Yeah.
to make that weird thing with a spike on it or something to go over his
Hmm.
stuff. And that guy had problems. He already had problems. He just had more problems after he sawed his hand off.
No, for real. You want to talk about some
Yeah.
honorable stuff with him when he was with the governor?
He tried to get Glenn eaten by a walker. He was like he was telling the walker, "You'll probably be hungry again in an hour."
Merle, dude.
That was just wrong. And I think yeah, he was just a henchman that and just did a lot of stuff. Now he did towards the end, he did turn on the governor that went sideways, but he tried. He tried.
He
But
tried so hard.
yeah.
It got
And
so hard.
then Daryl found him and he had to put him down.
Yeah, he had that moment with
Yeah.
him where he was trying not to cry, but he knew that that was just too much, too steep. Fucking Ollie up in here, bro. This is Ollie, everybody.
Yeah, but that's all I got to say about him.
All right. So my number 10, just how you have a solo person. This person was not part of any villain group, but he's in my top 10 as a villain, Shane. So
Okay.
when
Mhm.
I when we talked about Shane, that
Mhm.
man, like we already stated, he went nuts because after he was jealous because Rick, once he came back, oh yay, Lori's gonna be back with him, sleeping with him. I want to fuck, man. Where are you? That's basically all I saw. He's mad because he stole his girl back, and I'm like, bro, you
Yeah.
really can't be mad because
Yeah.
one, you literally lied to her, said that her husband was dead, and then you expect her to just be okay with that? Nah, bro, nah.
Right.
Like, bro, he done fucked up, Aaron. You should have told you should have told her the truth from the beginning. You should have just been an
Mhm.
uncle. You should have just stayed away. But no. Then look what
Mhm.
happened. Lori got pregnant, and he didn't even get to lay eyes on his own kid, and he did that to himself. And then
Right.
he started to become more and more crazy. He shaved his head, started looking like a weirdo from hell, and then he got that one guy that he captured at Herschel's farm. He got Otis killed. He was trying to get Rick killed and others killed. He got Dale killed, and um, yeah, and then Carl ended his life. And personally, he got what he deserved. I know that's probably fucked up to say,
Wait.
but
Wait. He got Dale killed. I thought
I
Dale
thought
went out. Dale went out walking in the.
he did, but I
He
thought I
he's.
remember something like there was a lot of confrontations between them, so I could be mistaken. But I think Dale did get him like he had nothing to do with it, but he still like him and Dale went at it a lot. Is basically what I'm
That's
trying to get at.
true.
I don't
Oh
think he
yeah,
got
because
him
he
killed.
disagreed. Dale disagreed with Shane wanting to basically bump off Randall. Um, but Shane had a point, but Dale also kind of had a point. So it was just kind of like, well, you know, the decision of what to do should probably be in the hands of someone more level headed. But I think Dale just went to take a walk, and then he saw a cow that had been eaten on by, it was still alive. It was like, it was on the ground and stuff, and the guts was all out. And he got distracted by that, and then a walker was kind of crawling on the ground, and or maybe not crawling on the ground. The walker just came out of nowhere and got him, and he fell down, and then the walker like bit him, and then and was kind of eating on them when they got to him, and then they had to put him down. Yeah, but it wasn't. I don't know if I don't think anybody got him killed per se.
No, I know what you mean. I think it was by wording. I don't think Shane got anything to do with him being killed. I think it was more like what you said.
Yeah, but they had an argument that maybe if they hadn't had that argument,
they always had arguments because Gale couldn't trust Shane.
True. Yeah. Shane was too much of a loose cannon, he was saying, but then, but okay. So
you're number 9.
My number 9 is actually what you call it? Dawn from the hospital, the police lady, right?
I know who exactly you're talking about. That crazy lady.
You know, she's paranoid and controlling, bad leader, and just her own people didn't like her. You know, and then she killed Beth, man.
You killed Beth, you bitch.
She killed Beth, man. And she, like, they was all set. Everybody was all set to leave, and she's like, "No, we're keeping Noah." It's like, what? And Noah was like, "It's okay." She's like, "No, it's not." She stabbed her with scissors. I was like, Beth, what you was gonna do? Stabbing her with scissors? No. But yeah, I think just that whole situation, and then it was like her people were like, "It's okay, that's it. Nobody else has to die."
Well, yeah, because after she died, because everybody was talking shit about her because the crazy she was, so they kind of figured, hey, now that she's dead, y'all, we don't need to be fighting no more. Let's go celebrate.
Yeah, she was very controlling and play mind games with her staff and stuff and all that stuff. But it was sad that Beth had to die in that situation. It was tragic. I didn't see that coming. I was just kind of like, crap. But so she made the list.
Well, when it comes to my number 9, the scavengers that we talked about a little bit with Daryl and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah,
the claimers or the scavengers.
Yeah, the claimers. That's what they're called, right? You're right. The claimers. I thought it was unique seeing those characters in here. They were like a biker group, and everything that they ever took, like they had to claim it first. Like there was this one instance that I remember where they were in the house, and if you noticed, I could be tripping, but it looked like one of the members got killed, right, by another member, right? I swear to God, it looked like we saw that same member somehow still alive in the group. I could be tripping. I had to go back and watch, but it looked like the exact same character. So unless he had like a twin brother, I don't know. Like
one of them got killed, and then one of them got killed by Rick, I think, and then that person became a walker. And then the rest of them had to put that walker down. I think that's kind of...
It's an instance where the person literally looked like one of the members that was still alive, is what I'm saying. Like, I could be tripping, but I'm telling you, it looked like... Yeah, like, I could be tripping, but there was also that instance where Daryl... Remember, there was the whole situation with the rabbit, and then fucking... They were accusing Daryl of stealing that one guy but... That one guy that was trying to get him kicked out of the group wasn't telling the truth. Then he got killed off by the group because he lied, and so he got what he deserved. And then eventually they met up with Rick and them, and Daryl was with them when he saw that, but Daryl helped fuck up those fools with them, so they wouldn't kill the group and such. So I put the claimers at number 9. I will tell you a list I have of them singly, but right now I'm just going through villain groups. That's personally what I'm doing for my list, since that's kind of what you did, so I had to make a quick thing. Yeah, Shane was my number 10, since he really wasn't a part of any group. Now, Merle is a part of the governor's militia, so they are in here at some point, but yeah. Who's your number? You already said your number 9. Who's your number 8?
I think my list got messed up somehow.
Wait, you said 10
Okay,
9.
so
You said Don's group, and then
I
you
said
said Merle
Merle, and then
first.
Dawn was number 9, and then I don't know why I put Carver. That's from the Telltale game. What the heck? Okay, hold on. Got to call audible. Do you remember Caesar Martinez? Martinez. He was like the governor's.
No. I know who you're
Uh.
talking about. Martinez, you
Uh.
put him at number 8.
Yeah. He was kind of a he was kind of a problem. I mean, the governor ended up killing him off, but like
Well,
he
yeah,
was.
because remember, he went to form his own group, and then the governor took over
Mhm.
that group.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
He didn't like the answers he was giving while he was playing golf.
Exactly. Exactly. This is supposed to be a gently named game of golf, guys. You gotta be a
Yep.
dick.
uh, and yeah, that's my number 8. I'll say.
You have anything to say
Mm.
about him, or is that really the most?
Not well. I don't remember a whole lot more about him other than he was kind of part of that a splinter off of the governor stuff.
Exactly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my number 8 is Dawn's group at the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I feel
Okay.
like she had officers that she made corrupt, like especially that one that was trying to get Beth to sleep with him and being a creep because she stated basically she has to keep her officers happy, and that really concerned me. And I feel like that
Oh,
was not right, and that was just disgusting, and that's why I kind of
yeah,
put them on the list. There's not really much more
yeah.
I could say on that other than Don got what she
Mm-hmm.
deserved, and that one cop got what he
Mm-hmm.
deserved. And then after she died, like you stated, like look what happened. And nobody fucking
Mm-hmm.
gave a shit. She's dead. Let's go celebrate, like type thing, you know? It's
Yeah.
like fuck
Yep.
her. We could let all this time, but she wouldn't let us. So we're happy that somebody took her. I'm like thinking to myself, you guys really couldn't have band together and killed her?
No, they're too scared. They was too they had Stockholm syndrome. They couldn't do nothing.
Right? Jeez,
Yeah.
crazy man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my number 8. There's not much more I could say about that. Who's your number 7?
I have to say Simon, Negan's right
Oh
hand guy,
damn.
especially because
Okay.
of with Hilltop. Like he was yeah, he was a problem. He
No,
was a problem.
he literally was trying to take over a little bit for Negan. Remember, he tried to take control, then Dwight basically betrayed him, and then they had that
Hmm.
fight where where Negan killed him, and then Negan kept him up on the zombie post. But Simon was a very big villain in a sense with the Saviors. So
Yeah.
yeah, you
Hmm.
have anything else you remember with him or moments you want to talk about?
It's like, what did he have on him? A hatchet. A hatchet? Yeah, a hatchet.
Well, he had like
Give me
he
that
had like a
hatchet.
gun and
Give,
hatchet on him.
no.
Yeah.
I'm reenacting the dialogue between Negan and Simon about Rick.
Oh yeah.
Because when Rick was like, "I'm gonna kill you," Negan was like, "What was the joke that bad?" And then Rick was like, "I'm gonna kill you." He's like,
Yeah.
"What? What? I'm gonna kill you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I'm gonna kill you." He just kind of looked at him and he said,
Uh huh.
"Simon, what did he have on him again? A hatchet. A what? A hatchet. Give me his hatchet."
And then he almost made
Like,
him cut off Carl's arm.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my gosh. But yeah, what was that? Okay, so yeah, Simon was my number 7, but I don't have a lot more to say about him. He just
Yeah.
psychos being psychos.
When I get to my single people, but right now I'm just giving off my groups for my first top 10, but I did make the second one regarding single members. Like the only reason I put Shane in this one because he wasn't a part of a group, so I kind of made him his own
Yeah.
group, if that makes sense. But for my
Mm-hmm.
number 7 in villain groups, Terminus. Those cannibal motherfuckers. It was
Yeah.
so when you walk in there, it's just like, bro, You guys are eating people when zombies are eating people, when walkers are eating people. You guys are fucking nuts. But the only reason that they did that, their excuse was because of that one group that took over, and then they would do things we don't talk about. But freaking, it was like they changed because of that. And they felt like, okay, we can't trust anybody, so we're just going to eat them. And apparently, in their sense, it made them stronger. And then remember how we were talking the other night? They killed off that one blonde guy that Harold and Rick met with that one girl, but we don't know where the girl went. All we saw was that one guy. But he got killed off, and it was like 3 of them that got killed off. But Bob, Glenn, and Rick, I believe, were in the line, and I think Daryl was as well. Like 3 of them got killed off, and then like right as like the 5th one, Gareth walks in, and then that's when Rick tells Gareth that one warning. There's a machete in there with a red handle. I'm gonna kill you. And I was so excited at that church scene when they got their asses killed off. And Rick's like, when you cross somebody's path, you kill him. And then like, remember they did that thing to Bob where they were eating on him, but then they didn't realize he's like, I'm tainted meat, you pricks. And then and then there's that church scene that I like to talk about where they got killed off. I'll watch that. I'll watch that before I go to bed. Be like, bro, I'm so happy that got killed off.
Yeah, I gotta look that clip up again. I remember that. Yeah.
I'll send it to you. I literally have it like saved like as clips for TWD, bro. Like I fucking love that scene. But yeah, that's my number 7. Who's your number 6?
I have to say, okay, I'm gonna say Beta and his version of the Whisperers, because the reason I'm separating that from Alpha's is because once Alpha was gone, Beta. Remember when Beta took her? Didn't he make her face his mask or something?
Basically,
Or part
he put like half his mask, like half her face was on his mask.
And he became well, he was already insane, but he became even more insane, and he led that huge horde to attack Hilltop, I think it was, and it was just because the sheer enormity of all that endeavor and what it took to put him down. I had to put him in the top 10. You know, he was a formidable behemoth himself, but the fact that he could lead all that stuff. You know, he could bring, darn near apocalypse with him wherever he went. That made him scary.
Because he believed in what Alpha was doing.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
He was a zealot. I don't know.
And when you said that he led that attack, if you remember, it was Alpha that led that attack to Hilltop and all those places, because remember they also had that scene with the 10 heads where she took off the heads of 10 of the people, and then if you cross to our borders, that was a warning. Remember that when they kill off Henry, Tara? Yeah. Now, she died because Negan tricked over there, which we could talk about more, but Negan tricked himself over there, finally killing Alpha. But then Beta did that thing with Alpha's head where he took off half of her face, but then he started to collect more and more zombie walkers, and then they invaded that hotel that the group was held up at. Remember Lydia, the daughter of Alpha, was also still alive too?
Yeah.
Yeah. But do you want to say anything more on Beta? Vicious character.
Not much more to say about him, except I think Daryl had to fight him. I think it was Daryl had to fight him.
They fought a few times, remember?
A few times, right? Yeah.
They fought in the apartment building the first time, and then they fought
he knocked him down
the last time before he died.
The elevator shaft, and we thought he was gone, but he got up.
Exactly. He got up like it was nothing.
Like, and then I mean, just now I would hear people talk about the comics, and I was like, I don't want to read the comics because number one, I don't want to spoil it. Number two, sometimes things happen different in the comics than they do in the show. So
exactly.
I was like, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to touch
Apparently,
it.
Morgan and Michonne were a thing in the comics.
Really? Hmm.
That's how strange the story. That's at least what I was told. I've only read bits and pieces of like what I've seen online of the comics, and yeah, I believe that's how it was. And there was a leader before Negan. Like, you know how Negan would talk about how there was a leader he took from beforehand in the Saviors.
Uh-huh.
In there, it kind of basically shows you who the original leader was, but that doesn't mean that's who Negan was talking about because they never mentioned the name. But in the comics, apparently the dude does have a name.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
some characters were different depicted than how they were. Like in the comics, guess what? Eugene and Rosita are a thing.
Huh.
Uh-huh. There's some pretty trippy stuff. Like, bro.
Well, in the comics, she was one of the people that got piked, though, I think.
Mhm.
And so was Ezekiel and some the people, the victims were different in the comics.
Exactly. Like it was a
Uh,
different universe compared to what we see on TV.
hmm But it
Yeah.
was creepy about. I mean, just I guess I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but just what was creepy about the whole thing with the Whisperers is, it messed with my head because I was like, when did they ever have a chance to get these people? It was so sneaky. They did it through the. It was like when they had that intro. Um, that fair that was supposed to span all three communities somehow, and they
It was
infiltrated and
basically supposed to be a
they were just
trade
grabbing
fair to
people.
unite all the communities,
Yeah,
but then
they
they
just.
kidnapped 10 different people from there because if
Mm-hmm,
you notice when that scene does happen, those 10
mm-hmm.
people that were captured, you see them beforehand except the saviors because not the saviors, but the highwaymen. Remember the
Highwaymen.
highwaymen?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, underrated group with it was Ozzy, Alec, and DJ, the three of them that died. But then after that, the Highwaymen just kind of did their own thing, even though they were sort of together still. But then they kind of
Mm-hmm.
broke up. But then they wanted the members that were still alive wanted justice. But that's also when Alpha was sending horde after horde after Alexandria and everywhere because after that whole situation. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the Highwaymen were underrated. But then the other seven people that died, there was that one kid that was messing with Henry, not the blonde guy. I forget his name,
Mm-hmm.
but he would also hang out with the girl with the glasses that also got killed off. Then there was
Mm-hmm.
that ginger hair girl that got killed off. That was six. Then there was that
Mm-hmm.
old lady who adopted that child with her husband. The
Yeah.
one from the Saviors. Remember the Saviors baby that got left?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
She adopted that with her husband. Then Tara got killed off there, and then
Yeah.
Henry, and then Lydia. So those 10 characters were
And
sent
Enid.
as a mess, but then they kept Sadiq alive. Yeah, that whole Whisper
Yeah.
storyline was fucked up, bro. It was probably the most intense. Like before, like the Saviors and
Mm.
going forward, the group got fucked with hardcore because nobody ever did that to the group. But Rick never got to deal with the Whisperers. Rick was not
Right.
around for the Whisperers. Michonne was,
Yeah.
but then she left, and then it was just kind of like Daryl, Maggie, and them of like the original group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm. Um. But anyway, like the reason I put Beta is separate from Alpha is because he had that arc after Alpha was dead, and he was a formidable foe for a while. So um, yeah, that's my number six. Mm,
My number six is the governor's militia, both of them. The first time and then the second time when he took over for Morales' group. I feel like the
mm,
governor was an evil man. He literally kept
mm,
his daughter alive, who was literally zombified, and he had like a whole
mm.
collection of dead heads in his
Yeah,
room. And
yeah.
fucking, he also, and I don't like the fact of what he did to Maggie. That is fucked up. I don't
Mm,
condone that, and I think you know what I'm referring to. Um,
mm, mm, mm.
yeah. And then he kills off Herschel. What the fuck? He deserved to get his nuts cut off. But
Yeah,
freaking, I'm glad that he finally got his death that he deserved. Michonne and Rick fucked him up. But that one girl, remember he fell in love with that one girl that had a daughter, but then she got bit and then he shoots the daughter. And then that one girl that he was sort of with kills him after what happened, the whole thing. And it was just like, dude, he got what he deserved. Glad he's gone. The militia was a tough group because they took over the prison. and Morales was his second hand, as you mentioned. But then when he took over the second group, he had his new militia, and that's where we first met Tara and her sister. But then we saw how Tara wasn't really all fond with what they were doing, with what the group was doing. But remember, they were the first ones to meet the governor. Remember, Tara and her sister, with their father before he got killed off. And yeah, I feel like that group was a big danger before they met the Saviors, but we'll talk about that later because I do have the Saviors listed in here. But yes, the governor's militia is at my number 6.
Okay.
Who is your number 5?
Gareth and Terminus, pretty much.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear it.
Well, really, the reason why I have them ranked so high is because if you remember, I want to say how the group came across them is they saw the signs, right? So on the road, they're like Terminus. There's like food and shelter or something, it's a trap, You're thinking, I've been on the road for days. They have food. They have room and board. We can, you go in there thinking, they lure you.
Cooked meal.
Yeah, they lure you in. We're saved. It's like, and they, I think what it was, like, I guess the way that Rick and them had to go in there, they went in there with weapons, but then they basically had to give up their weapons and then be interviewed, I guess, and then they said, well, you can eat or whatever. They stood in line, and then I was like, those are some pretty big slices of ham.
Ollie, man, bro, those pieces of ham are pretty big. They must be from a big ass chicken leg.
I said, what kind of? I said, you don't see no animals around there. So I'm like, where's that meat coming from? I said, something ain't right about this. They got too much of that, And then I can't remember how they figured out.
Well, because remember, they saw some of the members of Terminus with stuff of their people. They saw Maggie's poncho, Lynn's watch, and then they were wondering where they could. But then they started to hold these hostage. But then there was guns pointed at them. Then after we see what the cannibals were doing, they're trying to be cannibals, trying to take people's meat. But don't ever mess with Rick's group, bro. You're fucked. You're going to get fucked up eventually. Let's just be real.
Right. They're going to be mad when they find out. What? Like, we're all here. Like, we all know, I forgot the line,
No, exactly.
And
but then that's when Carol was doing her sniping thing. Yeah. Remember?
But I was like, man, they're going to run out of that trailer and start messing stuff up. But then they got messed up.
No, literally.
I was like, oh, man. Yeah. But gee whiz, yeah. So that's it. And then, of course, when they were in their little roaming phase and stuff like that after the Terminus fell,
exactly,
and the daggone mobile barbecue.
Oh my God, mobile barbecue! That's so fucked up.
So traveling campfire vittles. It's like no. Tainted me. No, but that's my number 5.
All right. Well, my number 5 is the Wolves. Very underrated group. I wanted to learn more about them, but they were like rabid in a sense, in my opinion. Like, they were just rabid, bro. They literally would just kill anybody and anything that wasn't a wolf, and they fucking were going like they were on crack. That's what I thought they were on. Like, bro. Dude, they're like on crack in this apocalypse. They're taking that good. They're fucking up people for a living. You know what I'm saying? Fucking yeah, bro. They were a ruthless group. I wanted to see more of them because they didn't really have a lot of episodes. And do you notice that? Like, they were only in like a few things. But yeah, I thought they were a group that was underrated. I wanted to see more, and that's why I have them my top 5 for like a reason of like I wanted to see more. But from what I saw, they're not a group you want to fuck with. So that's just my number 5. Who's your number 4?
And the thing with the Wolves is like it's never explained why. You
Exactly,
just
that's what
pretty
I
much,
mean. It was so
yeah,
underrated.
yeah. You never know. There's never any exposition of like how did they become that way? Like, why are they? What's going through their
Why are
head?
they so
No,
rabid?
they're just no, they're just a threat. You don't get to know why they're a threat. You just better get away from them or defend yourself.
Exactly.
And just like a wolf in real life. So yeah, okay. So my number
Four.
four, I have hmm, I have Shane at number four. I can't remember why.
You did
Uh,
you not have Shane List? You had him on your. You could
I
still have
had
him as a
him.
villain if you want
Yeah,
him as your number four.
yeah. When he turned bad,
Okay, yeah,
because
that counts. Like
because
I had him at my number 10, so you have him at your number
yeah,
four. Okay, let's hear it.
because he almost killed Rick, and he was trying
Wow,
to,
you
he
almost
was
killed
trying
Rick.
to.
Stop putting him at my number four, you bastard.
I mean, just a few inches to the left here, and Rick would have been dead, man.
You just to the left.
Shoot. No, I mean seriously, like that was one of those cinema things where
Yeah.
someone shoots and someone stabs, and then you're not sure who took the fatal hit, and then Shane just
No, no, bro. I hear you. I hear you.
and it was a betrayal, because I was his best friend, and it was sad, it was sad. And then but that's pretty much what it was. It was all the stuff kind of came to a head, and his psychosis took over, I guess. So anyway, moving on. That
No, I
was,
hear you. Do you
yeah.
have anything more you want to say before I reveal my number four?
I mean, if he had been the one to survive that and not Rick, the whole series would have been different. Like like he, you know. So
I don't
that's
think it would have
that's
lasted. I don't think it
yeah,
would have lasted.
yeah. The Punisher,
The Punisher.
the walking
You stop
Punisher.
punishing
You
people.
know,
Wrong show.
you know. Um, but yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
Well, my number four is the Commonwealth. I hate rich people. So
Mm,
I fucking
mm,
once I saw that it was full of basically like rich people and like Mosby and that one family, Pamela Milton and her son. Oh, I'm glad
mm,
that little piece of shit got what he deserved. Dude, they were like stormtroopers. The only one that actually knew how to fight was Mercer, the badass. Like Mercer wasn't
yeah,
even a bad guy either. He was only doing his job, but the
yeah.
soldiers actually were never really working for him. They were really working for the governor in Mosby. And Mosby apparently had secret connections with a lot of other groups outside of the Commonwealth,
Mm,
which kept the Commonwealth going.
mm,
And he stated, once you let me go, a lot of things will fall. But I'm like, it looked like it kind of stayed together until people got tired of Pamela shit, and then they all rose together, and then you hear Daryl's infamous line, "Nah, it's The Walking Dead." I'm like, throughout the whole entire fucking series, bro, we don't hear it until the last goddamn episode. It's like, what?
mm.
It's like those films when they call it rated R. There's really like nothing rated R about it, but then at the end it's like
Yeah.
motherfucker, 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 because it's. I believe the rule is 3 or more F words. It's rated R. That's as far as I was concerned with it. But I don't know if the rules have changed. But
Mm,
yeah, the Commonwealth, all those
yeah.
soldiers remind me of were stormtroopers. Mercer was no
True.
stormtrooper though. Mercer was just a straight up badass like Daryl, bro. All he had were those 2 little hatchets. You give that man anything else, he's probably gonna fuck you up like he does with them hatchets. But the
Right.
Commonwealth was evil in their own right. And when they took over all areas, they took over Alexandria, Hilltop, and Oceanside. Remember that? Like, we don't know what happened to Oceanside. You
Yeah.
notice that? Like, Oceanside, we don't understand their fate. We already knew what happened to a lot of people from Alexandria and Hilltop. But
Mm,
Oceanside, it seemed like a lot of
mm-mm.
that group just died off.
Yeah, because they're kind of out in the open. They didn't have like borders, you know.
Exactly. Exactly, and Mosby was trying to get them to all come work for the Commonwealth or be united with them, but then Mosby got butthurt that they didn't. He's like, okay, it's fine to take over, but then, like I said to you before, don't mess with Rick and his group in any way, shape, or form. Remember when they did that hotel with that one prick guy of the soldiers? And oh boy, did they find out real quick. But then the group took over Commonwealth, so Commonwealth is what I would assume is in a decently better place. But yeah, that's what I got to say on the Commonwealth. They had their own arc. Interested to see how it rose and how it fell, and the characters that had their time inside of the Commonwealth, and how Rosita and Daryl became officers for them, which I thought was interesting too. You know what I'm saying? Like they were literally like your typical good cops, and then you also had basically the whole entire other cops that were just corrupt as fuck. And then remember they had to run that errand for the rich kid of the mayor down in that one mansion for money, because they were actually having money being pushed around in the apocalypse, bro. The apocalypse is happening. I'm not paying for shit. You make me pay, I'm shooting your ass. I don't pay for shit. But yeah, that's the Commonwealth. It was an interesting arc, and I'm glad that the group took it over. What's your number 3? We're down to our top 3.
All right. And I really could. I said Alpha and her whispers, which I probably could have. Well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you said Beta in his part of the whispers, even though I see what you're saying, but at the same time, where I have mine, you're going to see where I have them and why I say what I say. But tell me why you have Alpha in her whispers at number 3. I want to hear this. I'm really interested.
Well, she's a psycho. And
no other way to put it.
And when she decided to do what she did at Hilltop and stuff like that, and well, she was just Alpha was being Alpha and just terrorizing everybody, and just a clear and present danger. Now, the one saving grace with her group is kind of like if you were to respect her borders, then she wouldn't mess with you, right? If as long as you don't cross that, as long as you don't cross that line, she won't kill nobody, right? So, it's probably why there was some kind of rule there. That's the only reason I have her at number 3 and not number 2 or 1 or something.
I'm very curious to see who your 2 and 1 are when we get there. But you have a great like I said, I think your list is amazing. But do you have anything? Keep going on though about that. Yeah.
I would say that out of all the villains, Alpha and the Whisperers were the ones that creeped me out the most. I did remember seeing like an episode where it was like an origin story for her and Lydia, and they were on a boat.
Yeah, that was
like that.
That was Tales of the Walking Dead.
Yeah, and I remember seeing how that turned.
Oh yeah.
And she that's when she kind of lost. I mean, she kind of was losing it before, but that was like the last straw. That whole situation was the last straw. But yeah, just creepy and unsettling, I'll have to say. Even though, maybe in a world like that, they had to find their own way to kind of survive, as weird as it is, and as creepy as it is, but still dangerous people. And they would sit there and tan the skins of the walkers. I'm just like, oh, this is creepy. But yeah, that's why they're at number 3. Yep.
My number 3 is the Reapers. They appeared in season 11. They were that group of hired, well, they used to be all like assassins, mercenaries, and I thought they were a very crazy ass group, dude. When they first appeared, all in full mask, dark hoods, fucking, it was just like, I know some people are like, bro, they didn't really
Reapers.
last long. Yeah, they didn't really last long, but I thought it was so unique seeing that group because you had Leah, who had that thing with Daryl. You had Carver, who was like her brother, and then you had Pope, who was the leader of the whole thing, and then Daryl joined up for a short time so he could
Oh.
help take that over. You remember the Reapers, right? Remember they were the basically the second villain in the Commonwealth arc. Like they were those people with the masks.
I have to I
They
have
were
to
the
look
one
into
group
the name.
that Maggie's new group was dealing with. Remember when Maggie left to a different
Okay.
area and then she had Elijah and them? That was the group
Okay.
that they were dealing with.
Okay.
Yeah, if you need to go back and rewatch, but I thought they were a very intimidating group. How you're talking about the Whispers, like yeah, the Whispers were
Hmm.
scary, but this group was also fucking
Yeah.
intense, bro. Like fucking I was it was just like I wanted to see more, so I kind of ranked them up there so we could I wish they could have had more of like an arc, but like for what we saw, I
Oh,
thought it was good.
okay. When you say Leah, do you mean
The one that
the
Daryl met
lady
at
that
that cabin.
at the cabin? Okay, I'm starting to remember
Yeah, yeah,
now. Okay.
yeah. So she
And
was a
then
member of
Maggie
that
had the
group.
showdown. Maggie had that showdown with her in the
Yeah, but then she
cabin.
killed off those saviors, remember? Like, not saviors,
Mm-hmm.
but those reapers, because
Mm-hmm.
there was Carver on the ground already about to die, but then she killed off two of them, and then she shot Lee in the arm, and Daryl said, "What the hell was that?" Then she goes over to kill Carver with the gun, but then there's no more bullets. Then she kills Elijah with the things they use to climb up mountains, those like sickles things, and then she
Mm-hmm.
fucking kills him with that, and,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the Reapers was an interesting arc, so I put them at my number three. Who is your number two?
Oh, the governor, and his
Militia.
folks, his militia, and the whatever that community was called that he was part
Yeah,
of.
I call it. It was the governor's
Woodbury,
militia, is what I
Woodbury
call. Like, yeah,
governor's militia. Yeah. The reason being is that what made the governor so dangerous is that he's a psychopath.
yeah.
He's unpredictable, and
He
it's
also had
like
that eye patch
he's got
looking like
too
Nick
much.
Fury.
He got too much leverage and power. That's what made him so dangerous. So,
Merle was
um,
in there too.
yeah, and it was
Martinez.
like he was sick in the head too because of the
Mhm.
aforementioned things with the stuff he would keep in his room, and he was a little disconnected from the reality because he kept his daughter, his zombified daughter, in the closet or something or whatever, and um, he was loony, but he was like in a he would appear normal, but then he'll snap on you. He was that kind of person, and yeah, and then when he, because then they had a tank, they had a tank, right?
They
I'm
had
not
a fucking
imagining that,
tank.
right? Yeah,
What's
they
up,
they had
bro?
a tank. Yeah, they had a tank. So, yeah. Um, Again, like the guy follows Rick and them wherever they go. Like you finally think you have a safe haven, and here comes the governor to ruin that. You know, just here comes the governor to ruin that for you. So
Oh yeah.
yeah, that's my number two.
Well, that's your number two. My number two is the Whisperers. Now, all of the Whisperers, like whether it was Beta in charge or Alpha in charge, just as a
Okay,
whole, a
yeah.
group that's able to walk with the dead. They killed off Jesus, man. They killed off Jesus, my boy. They killed off that Mr. Peace himself. But then freaking just a group in general, the Whispers, it's just like how they actually how the walkers were able to whisper from that. I thought that was unique, and how they were able to move among the dead, and how they would do things. Like when Negan had his initiation, I feel like that was the one time we got to see how the
Wait. I now remember how that happened. Okay, because he
what.
he did some kind of thing with the swords or whatever, and then somebody just came up behind him. Like he thought he was surrounded by walkers, but there was a whisper
Well,
among
because he
them, and
was
he
killing
he
off a
shanked
lot.
them.
he was killing
Yeah,
off a lot of walkers, but then from behind,
yeah.
the whispers surrounded him, and then he was like, "I'm happy to meet you," and freaking. She was out when they brought her to Alpha. When they brought Negan to Alpha, she just goes up to him
Mm,
with that finger in front of her mouth, just saying, "You got to whisper." And then
mm,
Alpha, just in general, was a scary character, and
mm,
like she took Luke and Alden as hostage before they gave her back to
mm,
Hilltop for Lydia, because Lydia was being kept there by Henry, and Henry
mm,
was trying to save her, and then Henry did a thing where he went to go after her after they did that trade. And then they also left that baby at Hilltop. And believe it or not, you know who that not the one that had the baby, but her sister, the redhead.
yeah.
You know
Uh,
that she was actually the girl that played in Hocus Pocus as the ginger hair little girl.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was a shocker to me too when I found that out. But yeah,
Mm,
the effect that Alpha had on people, how she manipulated people, it was like she had that effect on them, and it's like that's how she was able to control them. You know what I mean? Like that was wow, that was something, you know? It's just like that control that you have over people in this apocalypse, man. It's really
mm,
heavy. And the power that she had on Beta. Beta was so loyal to her. He was literally the big muscle. He was basically the measuring stick. And then remember
yeah.
that couple that tried to challenge Alpha, and then it was
Uh,
actually the guy that stuck up for her, said, "I challenge you. It's not even your challenge, though." And then it was that girl that she just basically cut the shit out of, cut off her head, threw it to him, and then they both got killed off. But Alpha, even like when she even showed emotion, remember there was that one time where she actually shed a tear, and one of her whispers caught her, and then she just kills that whisper for even seeing her shed a tear. So because she doesn't want to show weakness, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah,
then
yeah.
she lied to Beta, saying that her daughter was dead, and Beta was trying to convince her to kill off Lydia. And then Beta, he had that brawl with Daryl, and like he was trying to kill off Lydia. And there was that situation, like I talked about earlier, with the 10 heads, where they made that
Mm,
message, and then they kept Sadiq alive. And there was that one Dante who was with um Alexandria being their doctor, but he actually was part of the
mm.
Whispers infecting. Um,
Yeah, he
yeah,
he
you
was
remember
messing with
that?
the
The
water supply.
manipulation.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was the one behind the water supply being messed up, but he messed up Sadiq's head so much that Sadiq thought he was the one that was, cause he was questioning his own sanity. He was like, "Am I a sleeper agent? Like what?"
yeah.
It was
Remember
just
though? He also had that baby with Rosita.
yeah,
Coco. Coco was her
true.
name, and yeah, but she was with Gabriel at the time, so it was kind of like Rosita had two dads. I would say three dads because Eugene kind of became a
Eugene.
surrogate dad in a sense because
Oh
Eugene
man.
always had a big thing for Rosita, back to
Yeah.
the but back to the situation with the Whispers. After Alpha died, Beta took half her face, and then he started to make seem like he was the essence of Alpha now. And anybody that called him Alpha, though, he would get mad at. He almost killed off that one Whisperer for even calling him Alpha, but then she was staying alive. But then they ran over that hotel. But all they also had a distraction on a carriage where they were had like music blasting off it, thanks to Luke and all them, because Luke and Alden did like a solo at the fair together. But
Mm,
Alden lost his girlfriend Lydia, not Lydia, but gosh,
Uni.
Anid.
Yeah.
Remember the
Yeah.
girl that Carl took in at first, but then it took
Yeah.
her like a while to get actually over there, but then she finally joined up, but then Carl died, and
Yeah.
yeah, but she eventually died because she was one of the 10 heads that was found on the post. And
Yeah.
the Whispers were just evil, straight up evil. That's why they're at my number two. I could go on all day, but I'm really kind of curious to hear who your number one is. Who is your number one?
I have to say Negan and the Saviors
Ah,
because they had Rick and Nim's number, man. Like that episode, the last was it last day on Earth or something like that, and Like it was just so crazy because they was just trying to get Maggie to Hilltop, but the
Exactly.
Saviors were there at every time. They were like, "Oh, we got this lane cut off too. What you gonna do now? You gonna go this way? Oh, we got people there too." And it just, they just and then they tried to split up. They're like, we'll split up. We'll meet at such and such. And then Eugene, you take the RV and be a distraction. Well, okay, we're gonna catch the RV too. Round all y'all up. Everybody wound up at the same place. Um, Daryl got shot. I think because Dwight rolled up on him with a gun or whatever, and yeah, like Glenn and Michonne got captured. Like everybody got captured. Everybody just got snatched up, and then
Well, yeah, the whole group was
down.
captured. They were all lined up, and then that's
Hmm.
when Negan did that eeny, meeny, miny,
Yeah,
mo, catch the tiger by the toe. And he was pointing at each one of them, and then right as that episode ended, it went on to the next because it made us like, because he's like, hold on, he was like saying, crap. I'll say the line
oh
later when I actually talk
yeah.
about because, yeah, continue though.
You can you can you can blink. You can cry. Hell, there's gonna be a lot of that.
Yep. And then he
Oh,
kills off when we
oh,
find out Abraham and Glenn. It was first
yeah,
Abraham, but then he said the first one's free. So let's get back to it. Then he hits Glenn and Maggie's all pregnant and his face is all
yeah.
like disoriented with an eye popping out.
What's crazy is he was taunting them the whole time. It was like after he kills Abraham, then he basically takes the bat and flings some of the blood on the Rosita's face. Did you catch that? He's I was like,
Well, that was Rick's face. It was more Rick's face that swung onto.
well, he did that too, but no, Rosita was there with him, right?
Well, you get, I know they were, but I don't think she really got blood on her face. I thought it was just Rick.
Uh,
When we cleaned it, it
it
showed Rick's
was
face with the.
well, it was Rick too,
Well, I believe
but
it was,
but
unless they did not show it, but Rosita, I think, was a little bit farther down. I thought Rick was really like the only one
uh,
hit because he was like the leader.
mm, well, I just remember he was taunting her,
Well, yeah, yeah, well, yeah, he was taunting
because
every single one of them.
yeah, yeah,
Negan,
it was
bro.
it
I'm
was just
Negan.
and it was so terrifying because it was like, well, he's I don't know, it messed with your mind too, and then the way they did the episode, of course, the way they ended that series, what the finale or the mid season finale or however they did it, um, like he kills somebody, you don't know who he killed because it's from the person's vantage point, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh man, he got somebody. Who'd he get? Who'd he get? And it leaves you in suspense till they came back a few months later, and then the way they did it, they picked up after the carnage already happened, and then Rick is just basically like, he's like, was the joke that bad? He's like, I'm gonna kill you. Like, what? So I'm gonna kill you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. I'm gonna kill. What did he have with him? What did he have
Oh,
on him?
you're
A
talking
hatchet.
about, okay, I know exactly what scene you're talking
the,
about.
the the the
You're
way
talking
they kind
about
of
right before the
yeah.
Kingdom and Hilltop actually come to save them because they were literally being held down in Alexandria. But remember,
Uh,
so the Saviors had a mutual thing with the scavengers or whatever they're called, the
uh,
dumpster people.
they had a what? What was that?
Remember the people that were living in the literal garbage?
Oh, what's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
face?
Yes, yes.
I
So
know who
they
you're talking
were
about.
they were
Mhm.
working with I know what episode you're talking about because that's the episode that Rick said that. But then he was
No,
going to
that
kill
that was
Carl. He said he was going to kill
yeah.
Carl, but then he didn't
Mm.
because Sheba, the tiger of the king, came out, and then Ezekiel's like, Alexandria will not fall,
Oh
not to
no
this
no oh no no
day.
no no no. That's later. That's later. No,
No, no, no,
I'm
no.
talking
I
about.
remember,
I'm
bro. I promise you. I
uh,
promise you that is. I will send you the clip after that. That is the exact clip where you said that comment. He said, "Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but I'm going to kill you." Because I remember that distinctly in
he
that
he
episode.
he he may have repeated it, in another episode.
That
But
could
like
have
when
been
he
the case, but
first
I do
when
remember that being in that
yeah
particular episode when Ezekiel
yeah
comes to save him. He said that if he really repeated that, but I
yeah
remember from when he first met Rick, like Rick was kind of like in shock that whole time. If you notice, it looked like Rick was
oh
just,
he was oh he
yeah, he
was
did
yeah
not even really say much. Like he barely could get a word out because nobody's ever treated the group like that. That
no
was the
but he
big thing.
he he said something. Well, this was like when the okay, they took a break, after the with the suspense, the to be
Yeah,
continued
because remember, he
thing.
threatened to
And
cut off
then
Carl's hand. He told him to cut off
yeah
Carl's hand.
that's what I'm saying is when they came back, it literally started like, it just showed Rick and he had some blood on his face, and then he was like, he had Lucille, and he was like, what was the joke that bad? And it's like it's you get the sense that you missed a lot, right? Like you missed,
Yeah.
what happened, who caught it, but then what was the joke? What was the joke, right? So you missed stuff, right? And then Rick is just kind of looking at him. Was like, I'm gonna kill you. He's like, what? And he said, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow. I'm gonna kill you. And then Negan just kind of like looked at him, and he's like he still doesn't get it. And he's like,
So he must have repeated it
Simon,
because I remember him
what did he
saying that
have on him?
exact line later.
He exactly. He went back to he repeated it later when he had a chance to, right? When he was in a position where he could repeat it, right? But at first, that's where that was because he had just killed whoever he killed, and he was basically taunting. Like he made
Well,
he
he
made
just
that
killed
he made a
Glenn.
really bad and he really made a bad and you don't know when the episode opens what the joke is because they do it all out of order. The way they did it, it was like you kind of come in the middle of something, but you've missed stuff. And the stuff that you missed comes back when Rick is having a flashback to the events that happened between the episodes, because
Yeah.
basically Negan says, give me his hatchet. We're going, we're going wherever, right? And then they left and they drove wherever he drove them, and there was a bunch of walkers in the and they were in the RV. Rick was on top of the RV he was supposed to fight his way out somewhere, but he just was having flashbacks to what happened, and that it tells the story through his flashbacks, and that's how you get to know like who it was that Negan, bopped first, and then what happened after that. But after he killed Abraham, he took Lucille and kind of flung some of the blood on Rosita's face,
I
and
remember
then
it being Rick. I need to
that's
go
when
back and watch, but I don't
no
remember it being
no
Rosita.
this is he was taunting Rosita, right, like that, and then Daryl had enough of his crap. Daryl got up and punched him, right? Daryl got up and punched him, and then Dwight held
Well, because
Daryl
Daryl, like, he
down.
was trying to, but then that's when Negan
Yeah.
took him in as like his pet or whatever. Had him listen
Well,
to that
no, no.
music. Remember?
I know, but like this is part of the same scene, like the
No,
same.
no, no. I
They're
know what you're
still
saying. I was just
there's still
saying, like,
four.
yeah.
but this is how that came about. It was like Daryl punched Negan, and then because Daryl did that, that's why he killed Glenn too. Because
That is
he was
true.
saying
That's
yeah
why.
that
That's why
and
Daryl felt bad later.
yeah it was messed up. Um, and then he did all that all that stuff, and then he said Lucille is thirsty. She's a vampire bat. And he looked at
The
Rick. He
comments
said,
that
"What?"
Negan were like were iconic.
then he looked at Rick. He said, "What? Was the joke that bad?" And it was like, "Oh, that's what he was. That's what he meant."
Yeah.
This guy, I was like, "Oh gosh." Oh boy. But yeah, that's why Negan's number one villain. He just is. But his whole thing, when he was in jail all those years, and he was crying like either Michonne or Maggie went to see him. I think it
Maggie.
was
Remember,
Maggie
Maggie
went to
wanted to
see
kill
him.
him after what happened to Glenn.
and he had been in jail so long, he was just kind of like, please kill me. he broke. And then she said, you know what, you're not even worth killing. I'll let you rot in here and stuff. And then Carol let him out and sent him on a little mission to get Alpha.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Oh yeah.
But again, Carol coming up with the strategies,
No matter how evil or conniving they were.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's my list. Who's your number one villain?
Well, it's the Saviors. Like, fuck, man.
Yep.
Nobody ever treated the
Yep.
group as bad or as evil until they met Negan and the Saviors. And Negan, like that first scene when you first meet him, it was so iconic. Or like any person that you met that was part of the Saviors. Like, remember the bikers? Oh,
Yeah.
your property belongs to Negan. And it was Abraham, Sasha, and Daryl in there. And then
With the RPG.
Yes. Oh yeah, I was about to get to that part. And then because there was like a moment like right before that came out, because one of the members of the biker group that was with the Saviors went around with Daryl to go look at their supplies while Sasha and Abraham were just in the front. But then he's like, wait, on second thought, I'll kill you guys. Boom! And freaking Daryl out here, RPG, bro, just fucks them up. And fucking... There was also another moment with the Saviors before we actually met Negan where there was like that redhead and that old lady that smoked, remember? They kidnapped Maggie and Carol and they blocked them up, but then they got their asses fucked up. Of course, the group got them back. And then when when the group first meets them, he was like, I sent my people to kill you, then you kill my people. But after I sent them to come kill you again, you kill more of my people. Ooh. And there was this moment after like that whole, because we've already talked about that first scene a lot with you, and like that scene is just so iconic. But there was also a moment where they were in Alexandria. He's like, "Where is she?" Talking about Maggie. I would love to see her. Gabriel, can I be of service? Holy shit! You are creepy ass shit. With that geeky little style, with that white collar.
Yeah.
And remember, Carl was with Negan for a little bit. Remember, he tried to make Carl a little Negan. And yeah. And remember, Negan also did that thing with Dwight where apparently Negan had a lot of wives, and Dwight's girl was one of them. And then he gave Dwight the chance to torture Daryl. Remember? Daryl was being held up in that room with that cheesy kid music playing all the time.
True.
And that also made Daryl break at a time. Yeah. Negan knew how to break the group in different ways, but he was funny while doing it. Every single comic he would make was sarcastic as shit, but funny as fuck, bro. I love the Negan character. But we also talked about Simon, his second hand, before Dwight became the second hand, but then he found out Dwight was also betraying him. Simon was also an unhinged character because remember, he killed off all the men from Oceanside is what we found out if you do not remember the dialogue.
Oh, yeah, I do remember that being...
because he killed off all those boys. They revealed it earlier. He was the one that killed off all the men off of Oceanside.
When Arat and them did that. And they were like, you remember what you said when you killed my brother? You said no exceptions. Like, yeah, that's when
and that was after the Saviors had fell down, and a lot of the Saviors joined up with them, but still Oceanside was killing off the members of the original Saviors. But then eventually they stopped doing that after they killed off Arat, what it seemed like, and they kind of kept to their own for a while until later, of course. But the Saviors, they took over Alexandria. They kind of had a leeway over Hilltop in a sense. But remember when Negan went missing, when he was doing that thing with, what was it? Rick, right? And then because Negan sees people as a resource, but apparently he found out that Simon went behind his back, killed the people that lived in the garbage, and then apparently they infected the weapons, which was also originally Negan's idea. Remember, they infected the weapons with dead blood.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they could kill them easier and a lot more gruesomer. But Negan eventually kills off Simon after they have that fight. And after he tried to get a group together to take out Negan, Dwight became the second hand for a little bit. Then they found out that Dwight was a traitor. So basically, he did the same thing that he did to Daryl to Dwight. And then Negan, they finally had that final battle. Remember, Eugene was with them, and he fucked up the guns and on purpose. So there was that whole situation. And Gavin, I don't know if you remember Gavin. Remember when Ezekiel and Morgan were going to meet with the Saviors to make sure that the kingdom were safe? Remember those times?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Oh, they were like little. Remember that's where we first met Jared.
Okay, they went.
Oh yeah. So Jared was a part of Gavin's. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What? Repeat.
There's supposed to be some watermelons or something, and something was the shipment was light or something, and because of that somebody got messed up or something.
It was that one kid, the brother of Henry that got killed because Morgan was teaching him how to use the stick, but then he shot him, and then the next time that they met, how's the kid? And then Gavin looks at Jared. You better start walking. If you throw one flinch, if you even say one word, I will kill you. Go! And then Jared leaves off walking. And Jared was a very unhinged savior. He was psychotic. But then when he met Morgan for the final time, he's like, let me go. Let me go. As the walkers are all eating him to death and Morgan's just standing there. We will definitely have a talk about Morgan when we talk about other characters in the future. But dude, the Saviors, though, they were that's why they're at my number one. And you and me both have them at our number one. So, I mean, yeah, I think that they were a very interesting group, very evil. And yeah, brother, those are our list. I feel like we kind of did a great episode. We're already 2 hours, 10 minutes in. So I think we'll kind of end it off here. But I would like us to reconvene next time and talk about more TWD. And if you want to, whenever you're ready, we need to go through each season of the shows and go through them, and then we'll review the seasons after we're done watching them.
Okay, that might take me a while, but
well, that's what I'm saying. We'll go season by season. We'll start with season 1. We'll each get for season 1. Then we'll go on to season 2 and discuss that. But we'll start with season 1 of Just The Walking Dead, which only has 6 episodes, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But do you want to say any final thoughts before we get off here?
Oh no, this was fun. I hadn't a lot of this stuff I hadn't thought about in a long time, so it's good to review some of the. Just and the show spanned 11 seasons, so yeah, there's a lot to cover.
And also the side shows: Fear the Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, Nagy and Megan show, the Rick and Michonne show. We'll definitely cover those, but we'll also cover Beyond the Walking Dead, Tales of the Walking Dead. We'll do all that, brother. But thank you for joining me on here.
All right, no problem, man. All right, see you next time. All right.
See you next time. We all hope everybody has a great day. Good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever y'all may be. Peace out.